good day. Welcome to another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ died and he rose again. Happy Easter, everybody. The King is alive. Amen. So, was Jerry Tarkanian going to coach the Lakers in the 80s? According to Jerry Tarkanian, it almost happened. Okay, it almost happened twice. First time he was offered to coach the Lakers was in the 1970s. Okay, he was offered the job in 1976. Okay, and the Lakers had scheduled a press conference to announce the hiring of Jerry Tarkanian, right? But he was beginning his legal battles with the NCAA. So he said, so he said if he took the job, the case would be dropped and his name would never be cleared. So he backed out at the last minute. Okay. Yeah, so in 1976, he backed out of taking the Lakers job. The press conference had already been called, but he backed out at the 11th hour. And so that's how Jerry West got hired as Lakers head coach. Go figure, right? So, the UNLV boosters found out, and they pressured him to stay in 1976 when he was offered a job. So, he backed out at the last minute because of the UNLV boosters wanted him to stay on. So fast forward to May 1979. Okay, he wanted a job. Okay, this time he really wanted a job. And so, according to Jerry Tarkanian, the meeting went well, and he called his agent to work out the details of the contract. Right. So, the contract looked like 5 years, $1 million. Okay, and his agent was a guy by the name of Vic Weiss. Okay, and there were some still small issues to work out. Season tickets, autos for Tark's family. I guess they mean cars. So the agent was going to show up the next day to work out those details. Okay, but Jerry Tarkanian's agent did not show up. Jack Kent Cooke, who still owned the Lakers at that time, but was about to say hello to Dr. Jerry Buss. Cooke phoned. He did not come. Jerry Tarkanian's wife phoned him. It's no. Scratch that. Vic Weiss's wife phoned Tark to let Tarkanian know that her husband didn't come home. Her husband, Vic Weiss, didn't come home. It was later discovered that Weiss was found dead in a car. Weiss was found dead in a car. There are some say he had some shady deals going on with Carol Rosenblum, owner of the Rams at that time. The case was investigated by the feds, but the LAPD never solved the case. The UNLV boosters came up again. According to Jerry Tarkanian, the Vegas boosters got him. The Vegas boosters got to Jerry Tarkanian, and they put the guilt trip on him. And they really got to Jerry Tarkanian, and so Jerry Tarkanian turned it down again. And so he remembers telling Dr. Jerry Buss, who was about to buy the Lakers from Jack and Cook. He said, "It will be the biggest. This is going to be the biggest mistake that I have ever made." Okay, and so who knows how different NBA history could have been if Jerry Tarkanian took the job instead of Jack McKinney at that time. Of course, McKinney had a serious bike accident early in the 1980 season. Then Paul Westhead took over. Paul Westhead is fired in the middle of 1981-82 after leading the Lakers to the championship 2 years earlier. And then in comes Pat Riley. Okay, and the rest is history. Okay, so what would you say is the quickest foul out of an NBA playoff game is? Would you say 1 minute, 3 minutes, 10 minutes? Okay, so the Spurs were about to sweep the Lakers in Game 4 of the 1999 NBA playoffs. Okay, and Travis Knight, okay, played his rookie year with the Lakers, got traded to Boston, came back to the Lakers, and he was actually on the championship team that won the championship in 2000. Okay, the Lakers championship team in 2000. So that honor goes to Travis Knight, quickest foul out in the history of an NFL, quickest foul out in the history of the NBA playoffs. Travis Knight committed 6 fouls in 6 minutes of action. Okay, that distinction goes to Travis Knight, fastest foul out in the NBA playoff game. That record goes to Travis Knight. 6 fouls, 6 minutes. Okay, so that's a dubious distinction that nobody would want, but Travis Knight has that distinction. Unfortunate. Okay, so I was listening to hold on. There we go. No. There we go. Okay. So I was listening to Dee Brown talk about his time with the Celtics, okay? And Dee Brown talked about how he was sort of the bridge to the old Celtics onto the new Celtics, okay? And by the time the 1998 season came, okay, he was the only player left from the Celtics that had played with Bird, McHale, Parish, the late Reggie Lewis. Okay, so he was the only person from that era remaining from that era. He came in as a rookie in 1991 when Bird, Parish, McHale era was on the back nine, but they had Reggie Lewis though. He tragically passes away a few years later. So by the time the 1998 season came around, Dee Brown was the only one remaining from the Bird, McHale, Parish era who played with those guys. Okay, and so he talked about how Red Auerbach would be at every game. He talked about how Celtic legends would be at practice and how he talked with guys like Casey Jones, John Havlicek, just those type of guys. Okay. And he said when Rick Pitino came, hey man, Rick Pitino basically, not only did he get rid of the players who are on that 96-97 roster, he also began to change everything because I believe Dee Brown talked about how Celtic legends didn't come home to practice anymore. They weren't allowed to practice no more. Red Auerbach basically began to just slide into the background when Rick Pitino came in. And Dee Brown said Rick Pitino was a good coach, but it was the other stuff that really didn't endear him to players. Like Dee Brown said, the Celtics would practice for like 3.5 hours. Okay, Rick Pitino bring in Kentucky guys, Antoine Walker, Warmer, Urser, just to be exact. Now, Antoine Walker was there a year before Rick Pitino got there, so Walker was already there. Okay, but he did bring in some Kentucky guys, and Dee Brown also talked about how there were 8 players from the 1996-97 roster that were not even in the league the very next year in 1998. And Dee Brown, he had an interesting saying. Dee Brown's, they asked Dee Brown, "Were y'all tanking for Duncan?" And Dee Brown said, "No, we were not tanking. We were just we were just sorry." Okay, that's what Dee Brown said. Dee Brown said, "We were just sorry. We weren't tanking. We were just bad." Okay, so I went back and looked at that Celtics roster, 96-97. Okay, and I found those 7 or 8 players that were not in the league in 1998. Frank Brickowski, a guy by the name of Nate Driggers, Driggers, Steve Hamer, Michael Hawkins, Stacey King, Dino Raja, a guy by the name of Brett Sasbo. Yeah, that it? Yeah, I think that's it. So Frank Brickowski, Nate Driggers, Steve Hamer, Michael Hawkins, Stacey King, Dino Raja, Brett Sasbo. Okay. Yeah, okay. So it was around there. 7 or 8 players that weren't even in the league in 1998. Okay. And when Dee Brown told that story, I thought about what Rick Fox said. Okay. I was watching an episode of NBA Open Court. Okay. And it was like what they call a fan-driven show, where the fans ask the panel on NBA Open Court questions. Okay. And one of the questions that one of the fans asked was, "Who is a coach that you glad you never played for?" Okay. Kenny Smith said he was glad he never played for Bobby Knight when he was in college. Okay. Kenny Smith said that he got a letter from Indiana University. He didn't even open that letter. Right. So they shifted. So Rick Fox got in on the conversation. He was on that 97 roster that went 15 and 67 that year. Okay. And so he signed with the Lakers as a free agent. Okay. The Celtics released him. They wanted to re-sign him. The Cleveland Cavaliers came in and gave Fox a lot of money. He turned down the Cleveland Cavaliers offer, which was much larger, to sign with the Lakers for much lower. Okay. He signed with the Lakers for $1 million a season. Rick Fox did. Okay. So they asked Rick Fox. So Rick Fox got into the conversation, and he said Rick Pitino was one of the guys that he was glad he never played for. And Rick Fox explained why. He said Rick Pitino would be that guy for me. Didn't have a chance to play for him when he came in. Basically came in and got rid of everybody on that team. Then Rick Fox said, "But to me, I just don't think his style ever fit the pros." And then Kenny Smith went like, "Wow, that's deep." Rick Fox was like, yeah. So Rick Fox was glad he didn't play for Rick Pitino. And I bet looking back on that, he's glad that he didn't, because he won 3 championships with the Lakers, right? Right? Yeah. So Dee Brown also tells the story of how he knew he was traded. Okay. Dee Brown said during the 97-98 season, okay, he broke Larry Bird's record for 3-pointers made in a game, if I'm not mistaken. Okay. He may have broke Larry Bird's record for 3-pointers made in a game or all time made, but something like that. And the fans were chanting Dee's name, going like D D D D D, right? And so he recalls that he didn't play the next game. Okay, he didn't play in the next game, and then after All-Star break, I think it was shortly before All-Star break or after All-Star break, they were in Vancouver. The Celtics were in Vancouver, and he tells the story of how he didn't play and Chauncey Billups, future NBA champ Chauncey Billups, who was a rookie, they didn't play. They did not play that game. And so he said that's Chauncey. He's like, Chauncey, we're not playing because we've been traded. And Chauncey's like, no, man. And he's like, Chauncey, I've been around long enough to know. Yeah, we're not playing. And so he says how he found out that he were traded was they slipped a note under his door, under his hotel door, saying, "Don't come on the bus. You've been traded." Okay. So Dee Brown was gone midway through the '98 season. Rick Fox didn't want to play for Rick Pitino. So the guys remaining from the 96-97 roster: Dana Barros, Dee Brown for a little bit, Purvis Ellison, Antoine Walker, and yeah. So I believe only 4 guys remain from that squad. I believe I forgot to mention Dino Rahaja was out of the league in 1998. Hold on. Okay, let me go back and read that list. Frank Bukowski, Nate Driggers, Steve Hamer, Michael Hawkins, Stacey King, Dino Raja. Oh, yeah, okay, yeah. All right, cool, yeah. Yeah, so I thought that was some interesting stuff from Dee Brown when he said when he said there were 7 or 8 players who weren't even on the roster the next year or were out of the league. But 7 of them weren't in the league in 1998, and Eric Williams, who got traded to Denver, that's 8. Rick Fox signed with the Lakers, that's 9. Okay. So, yeah. So, I look at the 97-98 roster. It was virtually a brand new roster with the exception of Dana Barros, Dee Brown, Purvis Ellison, Greg Mahiner, and Antoine Walker. Okay, so it was basically a new roster. 5 players from the 97 squad was still on the roster, 98. Besides that, it was a brand new roster. Kenny Anderson, Chauncey Billups, Bruce Bowen, Andrew DeClerc, Tyus Etney, Reggie Hansen, Dante Jones, Travis Knight, Walter McCarty, Kentucky guy, Ron Mercer, Roy Rogers, Zanta Abak, John Thomas. So I just saw that was some interesting stuff from Dee Brown when he talked about his time with the old guard of the Celtics and the changing to the new guard of the Celtics. Okay, so all right, that's it. That's all for Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am out of here. Happy Easter. The King has risen. Peace out.